Good morning, everybody. You are currently listening to A Tall Girls podcast hosted by a tall girl named India. I hope everyone is doing super swell today. I can't believe we're already at the end of April. We're literally 1/3 of the way through the year already. I feel like just yesterday I was in my bed watching the ball drop on TV. And I was like, yeah, these are all my goals. I'm going to love my height more. I'm going to grow my podcast, among other goals that I had. And it's almost summer. It really does amaze me. It amazes me how fast time has gone. It's insane. And honestly, speaking of the New Year's goals, New Year's resolutions that I had, I'm actually thinking of doing an update episode of that over the summer, especially when we hit the 1-year anniversary of this podcast. That is coming up in just a few weeks. Can you believe that? So definitely stay tuned for that. But anyways, so as you can probably tell by the title, we have another story time. Okay, this was actually a request from one of you guys over on Pinterest, one of my followers on Pinterest, so shout out to her. And of course, if there's anything that you want me to talk about, discuss, whatever on this podcast, let me know at a Tall Girls Podcast on Instagram, Pinterest, and TikTok. You can just hit me up on there, slide in my DMs or whatever. She actually specifically requested a story time from middle school, which I honestly find hilarious because that is the point in my life where most of the bullying and weird things regarding my height occurred. But I don't even speak about it like that. I think she might be in middle school. That's probably why she requested a middle school story time. What even is middle school? Like 5th grade and up? Like 5th to 8th grade? I don't even remember. That's how long it's been. Oh my gosh, I feel so old. But I guess the story took place around middle school time. So what? It was actually, as you can tell by the title, yet again, it was the time when the tallest teacher in my middle school challenged me to a volleyball game. Yeah, it really happened. You would think that this is like something that happens in a movie and would never happen in real life, but it did happen, and I'm here to tell you all about it. This is probably the most stereotypical tall girl story time title you will ever hear in your life, besides one about basketball. Actually, I do have a couple basketball story times because if you didn't know, I used to play basketball when I was younger before I switched over to a different sport. And I played basketball for about 5-6 years. And there's a lot that happened in that time. So I may tell you about those. We'll see. Let me know if you want to hear it. But anyways, back to this one. So in my middle school, I don't know. This was a school where there were kids from pre-K all the way up to 8th grade. And this story took place when I was in the 8th grade. And there was this annual tradition with the 8th graders in my school where we as a class would play a volleyball match against all of our teachers. This was kind of like a send-off type of thing before we went to high school. Thought it would be pretty fun. Like, yeah, you get to try to play your teachers from 3rd grade? You remember her? You remember Miss Suzanne? Now you get to play her in volleyball. I don't know. It was a strange tradition, but it was pretty funny. Anyways, so we would spend our gym classes preparing for that day. Well, not all of our gym classes. It was probably like 2 months before the day because we were also playing against a gym teacher. So I feel like she didn't want to give us the upper hand. So she would kind of wait till the last minute to teach the 8th graders how to play volleyball. But we would do drills, scrimmages, everything. Mind you, I did not play volleyball at that time, and I still don't play volleyball at that time. So I was just looking as awkward as everyone else. Maybe a little bit more awkward because my long limbs were flinging everywhere, but that's besides the point. I'm still looking kind of awkward. So anyways, fast forward to the day of the match. The day came and we were all fired up, 40 minutes a week that we had for like 8 weeks of practice. How do we think to ourselves, yeah, we got this, but you know what? It's all about the spirit, okay? It's all about the fight inside of you, okay? But the teachers, they've been doing this for years. So I think we got a little ahead of ourselves. But there was this one teacher. She was the tallest teacher in the school. For the sake of the story, we'll call her Miss F. So Miss F was about 6'5". Yeah. Yep, she was that tall. And I absolutely loved her. She was one of the nicest teachers I've ever met in my entire life. She was actually known in the school for never yelling at a class, ever. She never yelled at a student ever in her teaching career while I was there. And I've been there since 3rd grade, so 5-6 years, never once yelled at a person. So she was super, super nice, and I really, really liked her. So during the volleyball game, she was completely dominating, okay? With a capital D, dominating. She was scoring most of the points, and quite frankly, it does make sense, okay? She was able to get all of the balls because of her long limbs, because of her height. And not to mention, she was actually a college athlete. It wasn't volleyball, I believe it was track, but she actually was an athlete back in her high school and college days, so that also helped play a part. So I was the tallest girl on the other end. I was the tallest girl of the 8th graders, and yeah, I actually wasn't even finished growing at that time, but I was probably like 5'7"-ish, and I was doing pretty okay, thankfully for my long limbs as well. So the end of the game comes around and we lost terribly. I think it was like 16-3. The match ended in legitimately like 40 minutes. It was pretty embarrassing. And yeah, the 8th graders sucked, but hey, we tried. So I guess Miss F was really feeling competitive that day, because as we were getting ready to go to the cafeteria for lunch, because the game was over, Miss F was like, do you guys want to redeem yourselves? She said it to the entire class, the 8th grade class. Do you want a rematch? 1-on-1 against me? And I was like, did this lady just say that? She wants a 1-on-1 against an 8th grader? Who will be shorter than her? If I was the tallest girl and I was like 5'7"-ish, between 5'7" and 5'8", we're already at a disadvantage because no one was done growing at that time and we were all significantly shorter than her. Yeah. So the fact that she even said that, it just completely baffled me. But I was like, no, I'm trying to get these tater tots in the cafeteria before all the other grades take it. Y'all better not say anything. But you always have that one kid in the class. It's like, yeah, rematch. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh gosh, no, this is not going to end well. This is gonna be crusty. So Miss F was like, okay, bet, who's it gonna be? Who am I going to go against? And everyone started saying my name, claiming, yeah, that I looked like I was doing the best out of everybody on the court. And I was like, what do you mean? I was just standing in the corner and I probably only got like 3 or 4 balls and make sure that I did not get hit in the face. How was I doing the best in the entire grade? But honestly, I really did feel like it had to be because I was tall. It had to be. And at that point, I was scared. I was scared for my life. I really, really was. but I had to play. I had to. All of the students, all of the teachers, they were looking at me. So I reluctantly agreed. Probably a very, very bad decision on my part, but you know what? We just had to roll with it. We had to. And all I remember thinking was, I'm about to be embarrassed. And indeed I was. So we started doing this one-on-one match. The score was going back and forth. I was actually holding my own. I was holding my ground. I was pretty proud of myself. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm scoring points against her. This is insane. The students, my classmates, were getting all excited. They were like, yo, go India, you got this, you're gonna win, blah, blah, blah. So now there was this one point where me and her were going back and forth, like hitting the ball. And I will never forget this moment. It felt like I was watching her in slow motion, rising up. That lady jumped so high. I never thought anybody who's a human being can jump that high. I saw her jump so high in the air, and she smacked the ball so hard. She hit the ball, and I tried to get it, and it hit me dead smack in my face. Terribly. I was in literal pain. She was so strong, so much stronger than I imagined. And the way it hit me in my forehead, I was lucky I did not get knocked out. It bounced off of my head into the wall. It was at such a weird angle. And like I said before, I was so lucky I did not get knocked out. Like I did not black out in the middle of the court, because that probably would have been so much worse. So yeah, I never ended up winning the match. Yeah, I lost, but still. Okay, to this day, I truly blame it on the fact that she smacked the ball in my head extremely hard, like really hard into my face. It probably rattled my brain so much that I couldn't even focus properly. So yeah, moral of the story, not all tall people can play volleyball. And that day I left with a huge bruise on my forehead. Yeah. So that's my middle school story time. I hope you really enjoyed it. You probably laughed at the fact that I got hurt from a middle school teacher. Low key, could I sue her? Do you think I could sue her? Even though this happened way too many years ago, could I get her in trouble for that? I mean, she did apologize, and she took me to the nurse and gave me an ice pack and gave me tater tots. So, I mean, I guess I kind of took that as an apology, but looking back, she did it to a minor. She did it to a child. Could I still get her in trouble for that? I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into that. But anyways, I hope you and guys enjoyed this middle school story time. As always, feel free to hit me up on my socials at A Tall Girls Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Let me know what you think of this podcast. I've been hearing some really nice comments, some really nice messages from you guys saying you love it and it's made you feel better about your height and yourself, and you just think it's super awesome. And I'm so glad, so happy that you absolutely love this podcast. Yeah, so just let me know. And I really appreciate you listening this far into the episode. And I will most definitely catch you in the next one. Good night and goodbye.